John, this is your second year as the guest choir director of this Cymanfa. How did you like coming back to Bryn, Seion?
Oh, it's tremendous. This is a magical little place here in Beaver Creek. I mean, there's been Welsh people in this neighbourhood since the 1860s. And the tradition of this Cymanfa Ganu, Cymanfa means a meeting, and Ganu is to sing. It's a singing festival, I suppose you would say. It's been going on, I think he said 77 years, so it's amazing to be part of that tradition, and to 2 years in a row, apparently. That's unusual for that to happen. So, and especially as I come from Phoenix, where it's 113 today. There's nothing wrong with Portland area at all. It's absolutely wonderful. So I am very, very happy to be here.
Good. What distinguishes Welsh language hymns, do you think?
The Welsh language hymns, they have apart from the poetry of the language, I feel that I'm particularly attracted, as I'm a speaker of the Welsh language, and I'm very interested in Welsh poetry and Welsh literature. I'm particularly interested, and it's poetry. There's a lot of poetry. The metaphors and such in the hymns are quite startling. The way the language sits on the music, there's nothing finer to me, and there's an enthusiasm in the music and in the language and the poetry that when they're put together with a good choir, a good four-part congregation, I think quite like it to lift the weary spirit.
I notice when I go in there that types of voices are split up in sections. How does that work at a Cymanfa?
Well, what they do is that they put it's something like, I mean, a congregation's a congregation in the church. Everybody sits where they want, I suppose, or where they usually sit. But for a Cymanfa, what they do is they have all the tenors sitting in one place, the basses and the altos and the sopranos, so that everybody can reinforce each other, so that they help each other out, and feel like you're part of a choir as you sing along and everything. So that's traditional, particularly in America, I believe.
Your band Tremor specializes in Welsh and American folk music. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yes, I became interested a number of years ago when the Welsh triple harp player Robin Hugh Bowen came over, and I'm lucky enough to say he's a friend of mine, a master musician, and it's sort of I grew up with rock and roll and classical music, to be honest with you, and my grandmother sang the hymns and some of the folk music, but I started to really look carefully. I mean, everybody's heard the jigs and the reels of the Irish and the strathspeys of the Scottish and everything else, and I just wondered, I said, well, why is it? Why is it that nobody's interested, or there's very little interest in Welsh folk music? So I looked into it, and I kept discovering jewels of music and song, and it's just gone on from there. And working in America, I found that with a certain amount of explanation beforehand, or by translating or singing in two languages, that people don't have any difficulty with the Welsh folk songs. And the music, the dance music, the jigs and the reels and everything else is everybody likes a good foot tapping beat. So and it's like I got my little corner now, and I play along with a number of people. Billy Parker, the virtuoso mandolin player, is usually playing with me, and some of the other people come and go, and I play the Welsh bagpipes, and I'm trying to introduce people to Welsh folk music with Tremor, which means overseas, the name of my band, but also integrating it with American folk music, with bluegrass, because it's something familiar. So if you hear a Welsh bagpipe playing a bluegrass piece, there's something familiar there for everybody, and it's something for people to sort of latch onto, and it's a way of bringing people into the music that I really love.
Do you find audiences are open to that? Do they hear it and maybe it's just a lack of exposure?
I think that's all it is. It's familiarity. So if you give people some things that they know, that they're familiar with, and a few things that they're not, We tell them a couple of jokes as well, and get people laughing and feeling comfortable. Then they become open to new things, and I think in a sense, I don't know if new things threaten people or it's just unfamiliar, and everybody likes the familiar things as well. So just trying to break down that barrier, and I don't see that much problem doing that. We played last night in this area in McMinnville, and got a standing ovation from people who'd never heard half the music before. So I guess it's presentation. If you can present it and frame it up in the right way, then it seems to get across to people. And we're putting it in a modern frame as well, so that not only American tinges of Americana in there, but also doing it in formats that's familiar to people, musically familiar styles. Then there's no issue, and I really enjoy it. I travel around. I'm going to be at some of the Flagstaff Festival coming up in I think that's July, I think it is. The Highland Games, going to be at the Mallard Welsh Festival. That's coming up at the end of this month, the end of June, July. And going to the Lincoln, Nebraska area. There's a Welsh community there, so things are, people are interested, and you get asked back, just as I got asked to come back here to Beaver Creek. Different type of music, but I feel like the Welsh community is finding its feet. People, the Scottish and the Irish have always been good at keeping their clans and everything together and organising events, but the Welsh just seem to keep themselves to themselves. But I see new blood here. I see younger people getting involved with the Welsh communities, American communities in America, just like your site, the Americumry. It's a focal point. We just need some focal points, and I think people will start to get interested, because there's a lot of people in America with Welsh heritage, and it just needs a little bit of a nudge.
Do you find as you're performing Welsh folk music and learning American bluegrass and performing, that there are derivative themes in American music that maybe come from Welsh, or sounds that are familiar?
Well,
or maybe a music tradition?
Yeah, Bill Monroe, who was supposedly the man who started or invented bluegrass. Monroe, he had Scottish origins, and he always said that he loved the ancient tones, and he was talking about the roots that were behind that music. There's a lot of Scottish fiddle music, the Appalachians, and all. I mean, this music is here. It's of course now changed. It's become Americanized. Just like you just imagine what has happened to the English language. It's become an American language. Well, the folk music has done exactly the same thing. It's just got a slightly different accent now. But there's a lot in common. And people, I find when I play with bluegrass players, I'm sitting there and I'm going, I know this tune. I'm not quite sure what it is for a while. Then all of a sudden, oh, of course. And it's just because it's played with a different accent. It doesn't present itself immediately. Then you start thinking, yes, I know what that is. That's a Barbara Allen or whatever it might be. But it's just being done in a slightly different way.
Great. Where can people get Tramore music?
If you go to the website, tramoremusic.com, you can see when the band's playing, and also where you can get contact information and all the rest of it.
Okay. I was lucky enough in 2009 to get to see the poetry seminar that you came and did for the Left Coast Eisteddfod. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, that was when we came up to do that. I've done that in several places, and again, the best of Welsh poetry. Well, I mean, that's not necessarily true, but there's a lot of Welsh poetry that is inaccessible to non-Welsh speakers, that people don't realise how extraordinary it is and how sophisticated, ever since Taliesin and Aneirin in the 6th centuries. And I thought it would be a good idea to present it to people. It's really music, it's the music of words. We call it canghanedd, harmony and counterpoint of words, bardic poetry, and it just takes a little bit of, you can hear it if you, for example, if you're listening to Mozart, and you know, it's not going to be sung in a language that you understand, but it doesn't stop your enjoyment of it, and because the music is so incredible, and the music in Welsh poetry, Welsh language poetry is incredible. And given that seminar, I thought I'd just try and introduce people, and I know some people have taken to that and they listen to it now almost like it's music. And of course there's the English side of it, the Dylan Thomases, etc., Vernon Watkins. There's a lot of what we call Anglo-Welsh, and a lot of modern Anglo-Welsh poetry that's very, 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 very good indeed.
Thanks very much. So what's next for you, Malad?
Yeah, Malad is next weekend. It's coming up. We'll be there over July the 4th, and that's an interesting. I think about at the same time this was settled here at Beaver Creek, farming communities in lower Idaho. It's about just above the border with Utah. Farmers settled there, and they're still there. And you walk around and there's Joneses and Jenkins and Prices and everything else, and it's be playing there and do some storytelling with. I have a storytelling group as well called Mythic Crew, which has also got a website, mythiccrew.com, and we'll do some storytelling, some folk music, and singing, and all the rest of it. So I'm looking forward to that too.
Great. Thanks very much, John.
Yeah, you're welcome. Try so.